I'm gonna do a screen share and try this out. Well, that's not supposed to happen. Well, if you can see me. Let's try the other screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. Should be able to see me just fine. This is the first time I'm trying to do this on a live stream. I'm trying to show you my computer screen and share with you some of the things I want to talk about tonight. So let's give me a couple seconds here to put this all together real quick, guys. Okay. If you're out there, say hello. Last time I did this, I had about like 15 to 20 people on, and nobody wanted to say anything to me. It was kind of nuts, you know. So I think I picked a good topic today, and so oh, that's not gonna work. Let's try this. Okay. All right. Tonight's music is 80s music because I just feel like 80s music today. Okay. All right. Wow. Where's the chat button here? Is that it? Invite people? No. Chat. Chat. There it is. Okay. So if you're out there, say hello to me. So that was me. The work. Please, someone say hi and make sure that my chat is enabled. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to talk with you guys. Let's try it here. No, I guess you have to go through Google Chat in order to be able to talk to me. Anyways, okay, let's talk about it. Saw this video on ADV China. I think it was Serpent ZA, right? There you go. What's up, man? I follow because I'm starting at Metin in Shenzhen next month. Any advice? James, good on you, man. Welcome to Metin. I worked for Metin for 3 years, and I still have a very close relationship with them. They're like a family of mine. And I know the people in Shenzhen very well. I did my self-training there, and I lived in Futian for a month. So you've picked a solid company to work with. Let me ask you, James, have you ever taught English before? Are you a teacher? Is this your first time? Because it is a training center, so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry, I'm working on some travel arrangements for the next couple of weeks. I'll share with that in a sec. Actually, in Shenzhen, to be honest, though. So, James, you're going to a giant city, a modern city that's close to Hong Kong. It's an expensive city, but you'll be compensated well enough to live a good life there. As far as having like a motorbike, you won't have one. They don't allow bikes in Shenzhen, and you won't need a car. It's a subway lifestyle there. I've experienced 3 years in Asia with adults and kids, but never in China. So James, you'll like it. You will work 40 hours a week. You will work 8 hours a day. You'll teach 5 classes a day. You will more than likely work Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. So your weekends are very busy because that's when most of the students come. And you get like a Monday, Tuesday, or a Wednesday, Thursday off during the week. And that's great. String them together because you can travel during the week. You don't want to travel in China on the weekends. It's just too busy. But Shenzhen is great. The people there are great. The head teacher, his name is Stone at the CBD, the Central Business District, Shenzhen. All the trainers, Claude, Peter, all those guys are fantastic. Remember, have an open mind. Work your butt off for the first couple of weeks because the first couple of weeks you'll be getting your visa situation situated, as well as trying to find a place to live, as well as doing your training. So the first month will be very, very busy. And Metin has a new curriculum that you're going to be studying and learning and teaching to the students. I find that the preparation time for the new curriculum is a little bit easier, I think, because a lot of it it's a flipped class style. So a lot of the teaching is done before class. It's done online. It's done through videos, and then you guide the students when they come into class and help them practice what they've already learned, and then teach them some new things. It's very much the four C's: collaboration, critical thinking, things like this. So you'll enjoy it. The books are great. They're National Geographic. They explore. They've been out forever, but this is the first company in China books. You'll enjoy it, man. Shenzhen is just across the bay from where I'm at. I'm in Zhongshan, and like I said, Metin is a growing company, a stable company. I've met the CEO, and he's a great guy. He's a very progressive guy, as well as all the people there. Don't lose sight. Where have you worked, James? Have you worked for-profit training centers, or have you worked the public school systems in other parts of Asia? Because there is a big difference, and that will change your perception on things. Remember, Metin is a for-profit business, and yeah, we teach, and we love teaching, and all the teachers there work really hard, and they're focused on that. But at the end of the day, it is a for-profit business. People were there to make money, and that's their primary goal, is the profit motive. So you can't lose sight of that. So yes, they're students, but they're also customers. And as a business person or a customer, your job is to provide the best product possible, whether that be teaching or not. But you can't always treat them like students. Sometimes you have to treat them like a customer, and the customer is always right. That's the way the world goes around here. For profit only, James, you're going to do great. You're going to be great. Be prepared to work 40 hours a week. You'll teach 25 classes a week, 1 hour classes. It's a curriculum that's provided for you, and you'll have a great time. Remember to embrace your colleagues, not teachers, but also your head teacher, and especially the local teachers, the local study advisors. Unlike in like Korea, where you're expected to call the students and schedule it. All that's done for you. They've got a really good staff and a really good system to support the teachers, so you can just concentrate on your job and teaching. But like I said, you're gonna love Shenzhen. It's an amazing city. I love Shenzhen. It's a great city. It's pricey, so, and it's just getting more expensive. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight anyway. So James, if you have any questions about Metin or living in China or coming to China, or for anyone for that matter, I'm happy to help you out, man. So that's kind of what I'm here. People did that for me when I first came to China. There was a couple guys that I could call up or send a message on WeChat real quick, and they were very instrumental in getting me settled and learning the ins and outs and the cultural differences. I'll let you get onto the topic if you want to talk about. I'll talk about whatever topic you want, James. So it's totally up to you. I wanted to try this screen share. Let's see if this works. Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen. What happens if I do that? Yep, that's supposed to happen. And then present to everyone. Okay. Let's see if that works. I can never tell if it works. All right, let's. Hold on 1 second, guys. 1 second. No, it's not working. I don't know how. What happens if I minimize it? Does that help? I've never tried this before. It's my first time, guys. And nope, didn't do it. I don't know how to do that. That's really strange. Oh no, there it goes. It worked. Okay, good. All right, now I don't know how to put my little box in the corner though. So, oh well. How about you guys just look at my ugly mug for a little bit and I'll talk about it. How's that? So, cameraman. Opening cameraman, preparing app, downloading app. All right. Stop presenting. No. So that still doesn't work. Guest join in. Broadcast a large video and I see on my audience and hide the other video feeds. New guest. No, that's not it. So that's for like multiple people, I guess. Let's turn that off. Screen share. There we go. I'm back on. See, what I want to try and do is get like my computer here, and then down in this little corner will be my face. So I see these other guys doing the live stream. I don't know how they do it. So, anyways, let's move on. Again, good to see everybody. I haven't done a live stream for a while, mostly because I've been so busy. One of the things that I'm very happy about tonight is that as of the last couple of evenings, I am done with all my lesson planning for the year. I can't tell you how wonderful that feels. So I can relax a little bit and do some of the other work that I've been wanting to do, especially on this channel. As you guys seen, I've been traveling a lot. I've been staying in hotels and haven't been hiking as much and haven't been exercising as much or talking about China as much. Now, I didn't start this channel to be a China vlogger, but that's kind of what it has become, I guess. And a lot of you want me to talk more about life in China, living in China, as opposed to my hotel reviews. I do the hotel reviews because I love it. Hotels are kind of a hobby of mine that I've always done. Oh, I share my hobby. I know so much about hotels. I've lived the industry for many years, and it's an industry that has a lot of secrets behind the house. And if you don't understand those secrets, then your experience in hotels can be, well, rather shit. So I like to explain what happens behind the scenes and how that affects you as a guest and how you can exploit certain loopholes within the system. If you, the more knowledge you have, the more knowledge you're armed with, the better experience that you can have. And that's how I have wonderful experience. I love hotels, staying in hotels. Now, I've never actually tried Airbnb before, but I might try that when I go to Japan this summer. We'll see. I'm still thinking about it, I guess. Okay, so let's talk. Oh, before we begin, I've got, as you see, I got a lot of notes. I've got a lot of crap that I've been preparing for videos. And part of this live stream is because I want some feedback from you guys. I'm preparing a lot of stuff, a lot of different videos that I'll go over with you guys. But I recognize I'm not the expert on this stuff. As you saw with my latest car review, car show thing, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And I learn a lot from you guys. That's partly why I do these videos. Because, you know, I'm smart enough to know I don't know everything, you know. Hold on. So I got okay. So I'm going to Shenzhen in a couple weeks. You guys will like this. I'm going to Shenzhen at the end of the month to go to an English job fair, English teacher job fair. Now, I don't need a new job. I have a great job. I'm not going there to look for a job, although networking is always a really good idea. I'm going there to film the job fair, and I'm going to be talking with the employers. A lot of them are training centers and international schools. I met the people for this group here, American English, at the consulate a couple weeks ago. This is a pretty good program. It's free for teacher training. So things like this and different aspects of the English teaching world here in China, which is growing by leaps and bounds and continues to be a really good place to come. So if you have any questions about that, anyways, I'm working on a hotel to stay in. Now the hotels in Shenzhen are one of the more expensive places in Shenzhen or expensive places in China to stay. And you can stay at, you know, I like 5-star, of course. And you can stay at a 5-star for about $100. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, Hong Kong, you can spend a couple $100 for 5-star. But I have connections and I have people I know, and so I'm trying to get into this 5-star for very little money. And I'll film it, of course, but it's a very unique hotel. I'll tell you if I get it. Yes, it's between the airport and Futian. Futian is the downtown area of Shenzhen, kind of the glitzy, glamoury part you see in all the TV shows. There's a couple of little downtowns. It's kind of a linear city. It's a very interesting city. Okay. So let's talk. My next video I'll be posting tomorrow is about the best restaurant in Zhongshan. I love food. I love Chinese food. This place is called Lao, and according to everyone around here and all the people you talk to, they say it's the number one restaurant in the town, and it's where everyone wants to go. It's an older restaurant, and it shows its age, but man, it is pretty amazing, and the food is incredible. It's probably the best Chinese food I've had in China. It's that good. And so I got a little video that I'm done with. It's uploaded, but I won't post it until tomorrow. You'll get to see it. And then I just finished filming, and I'm starting to edit the best hotel in Zhongshan, which is the Hilton. And I've shown the Hilton in other videos, but I've never actually done a video where I've stayed there. This was my second time staying there. So I got a comprehensive video of the Hilton and why I think it is the best hotel and why it stands above other hotels, not just here in this city, but throughout China. It really has something special going on there. So those are two. After that, I've got another one called "The 15 Ways China is Leaving the World Behind." You know, these are all kind of article based, and this is an interesting one on mostly technology, and a lot of it is controversial. I'll be talking about how China is a cashless society and some of the scientific innovations that are happening, and a lot of controversy there. You know, everything from the social credit system to cloning to growing cotton on the moon, all crazy stuff that's going on here. But it's interesting, and I'm gonna use it as a way of talking about the difference back home. What's going? Because every time I go home, it seems like nothing's changed. It's all the same, which is kind of heartwarming. It's kind of nice, but here, you know, everything changes. I mean, I haven't been to Shenzhen in 6 months, and when I go back, everything will be different. That's the way China is. Everything changes overnight here. I'm going to do another one on languages that are going extinct. I think that this is an interesting art. I've seen a lot of articles. It's a hot topic here about this is a worldwide phenomenon. A lot of languages in Africa are going away, but it's also happening here in China. You know, they have Mandarin Chinese is the main language, of course, and then they have all these regional dialects and all these other languages, including Cantonese in Guangdong, that they believe are going away, and the government's efforts to try and keep these regional dialects alive. But some people think that um, these efforts are in vain, you know, to keep some of these languages alive. And I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Hong Kong because, you know, they're here in Guangdong, they don't teach Guangdonghua anymore in the schools. It's all based on family, and over generation after generation, that's going to start to go away. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting one. I want to talk about Google in China. Google is everyone says, "Oh, Google's not allowed in China." Yes, Google is everywhere here. The only thing that's not here is the Google search engine and Google Docs and a couple of other things. But Google is massively invested in China. It is everywhere, and people don't realize that. So, I mean, and we've got Google offices in Shanghai. We've got Google office here in Zhongshan. They're doing something. What are they doing? I'm going to tell you exactly what they're doing. They're doing a ton of stuff. So, you know, don't count them out. It's just their search engine and a few other little things that they have that are not here. I'm going to do another one about the state of English teaching in China. For all you English teachers out there, as you know, I'm an English teacher, and a lot of changes are happening. I've gotten a lot of comments on my video about unqualified teachers here in China. That's a real thing, and the government is cracking down. And there are new laws that have been passed, new tax laws that really affect this crackdown, as you've seen. And in addition to that, there are more things being proposed. So, yes, coming to China to teach English is getting harder and harder to do. But if you can qualify and you get your foot in the door, it is going to be more rewarding and better as a career choice to come here. Also, I think it's better for the students themselves. So the students are going to get a better education out of all of this. We're going to have a better work life as a result of all of this, and if it all comes true. So people think, oh, it's apocalyptic, that what's going on with the laws that are being enacted here and the regulations, but I don't think it is. I think it's a good thing. Okay, then next I'm going to be talking about another video about hotels, basically the American brands that are here in China and how they compete with the Chinese brands. I've stayed at all of them, and many of the Chinese brands are very, very good. I'll be talking about Hilton, which has a big presence here already, Ritz-Carlton, which is owned, their Marriott brand itself, JW Marriott, Marriott brands, Residence Inn, things like this. They're not here, so they're starting to creep in, though. They've got huge plans for the future. And what does that mean for the other American brands and the Chinese brands as well? So that's going to be a compare and contrast. We got the new Marriott opening here in Zhongshan next year, which would be great. I got this article here that I'll actually talk about tonight. Somewhere buried here. It's about how President Xi, President Xi wants to end all poverty in China by 2020, by next year, and whether or not that can happen. And it was an interesting article. It's an ambitious endeavor, and whether or not it happens, I don't know. But I think it would be easier in this country than it would be in other countries for various reasons, and I'll have my opinions on that. So I'll talk about that too. Everyone say hi, guys. Don't be shy. If you have any questions about any of these, I'm here to talk to you all. That includes you too, James. Okay, next is public transportation smart card in Guangdong. This is a big deal for me if you live in Guangdong, and the new visa-free entry into Guangdong. They've doubled it. Now instead of 3 days, it's 6 days. So you can literally come to Guangdong, to any of the ports, major airports, or Gongbei or whatever, and they have a special line. If you don't have a visa for something like 50 some countries, including America, you can come in to Guangdong for 6 days with no visa. That is pretty cool. So that means that if you're visiting Hong Kong or Macau and you want to jump over the border and go to Chimelong, Ocean Park, or you want to head up to Guangzhou and eat some Cantonese food, or you want to come visit me in Zhongshan, you can. There's nothing. So that's very exciting. The public transportation smart card in Guangdong is for everything, and they're issuing. It hasn't been announced yet, but they're talking about it. This is very exciting. I have in my wallet right now, I have the transportation cards for like 5 different cities. I got one for Hong Kong, one for Shenzhen, Dongguan, Guangzhou, Zhongshan, Zhuhai. Not Zhuhai, I'm sorry, Macau. And all of these, it's a pain in the ass because I have to carry 5 smart cards around and scan it every time I take a bus or a subway. So now they're talking about just one card for the entire region. So I can have one smart card on a subway in Hong Kong, and then if I cross the border into Shenzhen, I use the same card, and I can fill it up from my phone. I mean, it's great. Now here in Zhongshan, I don't use the card anymore. I've got it on my. Oh, Faye, I can't talk to you right now, dear. Sorry, I'm in my live stream. Hold on, everyone. Okay. Hold on, I gotta tell her. Faye is my friend who's hooking me up with the hotel in Shenzhen. I'm on my live stream at the moment. Talk to you later. Okay. Nice little 80s music for you. Okay, next is shifting demographics in China. That's going to kind of bleed into the changing English market here. Chinese consumer culture. We talked about that. Is it good for China as the Chinese start transitioning into a more consumer-based economy, and how that's going to affect all the neighbors of China and how it's going to affect America? I have some opinions on that. Working in China, taxes, bank accounts, and registration. We're going to talk about that. We talk about the top 10 employers, not just English employers, English training employers, but all companies out there that you want to come and work for. It's not just English here. There's a lot of other jobs. How many foreigners last year came to China to work? And we're going to talk about labor work culture, hours that you work, the 9-9 that Jack Ma is pushing out there. I think that's going to be interesting as well. Okay. The new electric bike rules in China. I love my e-bike. As you guys know, you've seen me ride it around. They've just, it used to be each city had its own little rules, but now they've come out with a blanket set of rules in our country. And it affects everybody, especially foreigners who don't have a driver's license. Now, I have a Chinese driver's license, so I can just go register my e-bike, but certain e-bikes are allowed and certain are not. And this also affects the bike share programs that are out there. They're more and more transitioning to e-bikes as opposed to the regular pedal bikes, these share programs. So that's going to greatly affect that industry. It's going to increase the cost of that and riding it, basically. Very interesting. I'm going to go back to coffee culture. I did a video a couple of years ago about the differences between coffee and tea culture in China and my observations. I dug a little bit deeper into the numbers and what's happening here with Western coffee companies and then the local coffee companies and their plans for the future and how it's just exploding out there. So coffee culture is going to be a huge thing, and I love coffee. Tea culture still dominates China completely. It's not like Nam and Korea where coffee's kind of taken over. Tea is still the big thing. Hello, Hassan. Good to meet you. Good to see you, dude. Welcome to the chat. We got a lot of topics that we're talking about today, Hassan. So if you have any questions or you want to talk about something, let me know. I saw this article that kind of annoyed me. It pissed me off. I won't lie. Girls just want to have fun. I'm over this song, guys. Hold on a second. Cyndi Lauper. It's a fun song, but I'm not feeling it tonight, guys. I'm sorry. No Cyndi Lauper for me, guys. All right. Here, Bon Jovi. That'll be better. Okay. So I saw this article, and it was written by a guy with a so-called real job. And he was just shitting on English teachers like crazy. And the title of it was English Teachers in China Are Unsavory. Now, if you're in China and you are an English teacher, you've probably seen this article. It totally pissed me off because it's full of so many terrible stereotypes and assumptions. And it's something that a lot of non-English teacher foreigners in China, do. People have talked to me about it. They look down on you because you're an English teacher. And I don't understand why people look down on teaching. When did teaching become a job that is frowned upon? I mean, teaching is supposed to be a job that is respected. At least it is in this culture, but the foreigners who come here don't respect it, it seems. Okay, let's see. Hassan, in non-native from Morocco, and I will be moving to China next week. I will be moving to Jining. Where's Jining? I don't know Jining, Hassan. I think Morocco, I'm looking forward to. What will you be doing in Jining, Hassan? What will your job be? Let me know, and I'd be happy to give you some advice. And if you have any specific questions, I can help you out with that. Okay. And be honest, by the way. Don't, tell me everything. Okay, because I kind of know where this is leading. Learn Northeastern Chinese now. Northeastern Chinese? Like Dongbei? I love Dongbei food. I mean, honestly, between Hunan and Dongbei food, they're my favorite Chinese. And I had a girlfriend who was from Dongbei, and she filled my places and what it's like up there in the culture, and it just makes me want to go even further. By the way, today, if everyone knows, is World Whiskey Day. So because I am celebrating the end of my lesson planning for the year, that's all done. I still have lots of classes to teach for the next couple of months. Jining is in Northeast. Okay, thanks, dude. So Hassan, you'll be going to Northeast China, I guess. I'm assuming that's in the Dongbei area. Again, I haven't been there yet. I just know it from what I've heard from my friends. So everyone enjoy a little whisk today. Okay. Yeah. All right. So going back to the article that I got pissed off, I'm going to read it in a video, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I will be teaching English, Jining City, District Kufuhai, Province Shandong. Oh, you're going to Shandong. Okay, that's way up there. So you're non-native English teacher headed to Northeast China to teach English. Where are your college degrees from? Where did you get your college degrees? Are they from a native country? Let me know that. Okay, another one. The most friendly and unfriendly countries to travel to in the world. Now, this is an article that I read, and I happen to agree with it. But a lot of the yeah, I know you're from Morocco. Oh, okay. So your degrees are from Morocco. What's your degree in? Is it in TEFL English or is it in something else? Marie Javier, good to see you. I got your next message. Thanks for supporting my channel. And I hope that you have a good time in Vietnam, just like I did. So. Okay, so you have a bachelor's degree from Morocco. You're a non-native speaker from Morocco, and you're coming to English studies and literature. Are you coming on a Z visa? That's my next question. Were you able to secure a Z visa? Yeah, TEFL doesn't matter, man. TEFLs are easy to get. The most important thing to get is a Z visa. Okay, if you got a Z visa, you're good. If you're able to qualify, because there's a lot of programs out there for non-native teachers that, quite frankly, I'm not aware of, and different provinces have different interpretations of the national laws. So if you have a Z visa, you're good to go. You'll be able to secure a work permit, and you will be working legally and paying taxes and open a bank account and doing everything you need to do. So good on you. So when you told me you were a non-native speaker, I had to ask all those questions to make sure. So because if you're coming to teach English and you're not on a Z visa, I say stay away. Don't come here if you're don't do it. You will get in trouble. You might have heard stories about people getting away with it in the past. It's not happening anymore. You will get in trouble if you try to come here on a tourist visa or a work visa, or excuse me, a business visa. You have to come on a Z visa. If you don't, you cannot live your life. You can't open a bank account. As soon as you get paid, they're going to flag you for taxes and say, where's your work permit? And then you'll get, in trouble. You'll go to jail and deported. So good on you, Hassan. I don't know the northern China, so I can't help you with that. Are you going to be working for a training center, or will you be working at a college or a kindergarten or something like that? Who will you be working with? Because it does make a difference. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, friendly and unfriendly countries to travel to in the world. A lot of the comments from this article that I will read in the video will address that. China is on the list, and it deserves to be because it is a very friendly place to visit. America's on that list too, is a very friendly place to visit. Some of the places that they say are not friendly, some of them I haven't been to, so I can't talk about that. But I also believe that it's hit or miss because there's friendly and unfriendly people in every country that you go to. A training center, I will teach kindergarten. Okay, so it's a training center for kindergarten age children. Well, if you enjoy teaching kids, I can't teach kids. I don't have the patience for kids. I barely have the patience for college kids. So I think you'll do fine, man. Northern China is a different world than Southern China. It's completely different. And so I have very limited experience in Northern China. So it would be very difficult for me to give you any advice. But as far as teaching English in China, it's very rewarding. and it's rewarding both, you know, extrinsically and intrinsically. So I think you will enjoy it. But when you get up there, share your thoughts. Start a YouTube channel, start a blog, share your experiences. The more knowledge, or the more people who do that, who share their experiences, the better, I think. You know, it's. I mean, in the last few years that I've been here, there's been more and more information out there about living in China, what China's really like. Whereas before I came, there was hardly any. You know, I'll talk about that here in a second. Here's a big important topic: how to get money out of China. Now, you work in China, you're going to save a lot of money, you're going to make some money, and you're going to save a lot of money. How do you get it back to your home country legally? There's shady ways to do it, and highly, you don't want to do the shady things. Again, don't break the law while you're here, guys. Don't do anything shady. Keep it all on the up and up and legit. I've got a couple of ideas. I'll share with you how I do it, how I get money out of China, and I do it completely legally. There are limitations. Um, there is, if you guys know, the ADB China guy, Serpent ZA, and Lawa 86. Lawa 86 just sold his house here in Huizhou, and he's got a large sum of money that he's can't move all at once. You've got limits on that. So large sums of money, it's very impossible to get out. But in little pieces here and there on a yearly basis, there are really cheap and interesting. There's expensive ways to do it, and there's also cheap ways to do it. So I will share with you how I do it and other methods that whichever one will work for you. So that's coming up. Strange things that actually exist in China. I got like a list of like 25 different things. Some of them you're aware of, some of them you're not. They only exist here in China. This is a different world here. It's wonderful. Every day is something new. It's great. Places I like to go that normal tourists don't. When most tourists come to China, they go to the Great Wall, they go to Canton Tower, they go to Beijing, then the Forbidden City. If you're in a little bit more adventurous, maybe you'll hit up Zhangjiajie, maybe you'll go to Fenghuang, maybe you'll go to Guilin and Yangshuo. And these are great, they're great, but they're also full of tourists. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're full of tourists because they're incredibly beautiful and they're meant to be. But there's a million other places in your backyards that nobody goes to that are beautiful. For example, you go to Yangshuo and see the mountains and the Li River and party it up in the town and with all the backpackers and do some rock climbing and have a grand time. But you can also have that exact same experience in a couple of villages down the river and not have the backpacker scene and the inflated tourist prices. Is it true that Americans and Canadians are leaving China now? No, it's not true. I believe that more are coming. There's all this tension that you see on the news about politics and economics and everything, but if you look at the numbers, more and more coming. So there's a lot more foreigners, especially from the Americas, coming to China because they see the opportunity, and for various reasons, not just for money and business opportunities, but just because the world is getting smaller and people are interested. That's kind of what brought me here. I didn't come here for the money. I came here because the world is small and I felt like it was, I mean, if I'm in Los Angeles and I look west, the next country is, well, Japan and then China. It's the next logical place to go check out. We're like neighbors with a big swimming pool between us. So that's my belief. I know, I don't think, you hear the stories about how Canadians are being stopped at the border, being scrutinized and all that kind of crap. That's not happening, guys. I mean, you see in the news one or two instances of some suspicious people, but the vast majority of foreigners here come and go as they please. It's very free and very welcoming place to come. That's my opinion. I don't think, sir, think it's fake news it's real news, but it's sensationalized and it's anecdotal. I mean, it's just one. That's another problem I have with all this news about the housing market and everything that we're going to get to. You hear a story about something happening with one person, and everyone thinks that happens to everyone in that demographic, and it doesn't. And the news likes to make it think, okay, one or two Canadians are being held for questioning, and therefore all Canadians need to be, scared of coming to China. And that's not the case, guys. It really isn't. Remember, what happens to that person will not happen to you. Everyone's experience here is different. It depends on your attitude and your, associations and what you do. You know, if you do shady things, yeah, you'll get caught. If you're an up and up and a good standing citizen, you can come and go as you please, and people smile at you. It's a completely different place. It's all about your attitude, I think. Okay, next. Cultural myths and folklore. China, especially with the older generation, is still heavily rooted in ancient traditions and folklore, and that permeates life in general here. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that I hear my students tell me. I'm like, really? You believe that? Yeah, no. I mean, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing because every country you go to, they have myths and folklore. And you go to America, go to the Midwest, it's full of it. So I just want to talk about those items that are specific to this country. I think it's interesting because it's not very well known. I mean, it seems like every couple of weeks there's a new festival here. And I was like, what festival is that? I never heard of that. What is this? And then they tell me all the myths and the folklores behind it. And I'm like, wow, it's so ancient, amazing, and we have no idea about this stuff. Just as the Chinese don't have any idea about, myths and folklore for, Middle America or Europe, Eastern Europe. So I think that'll be an interesting one. I talked about Now. I want to do Zhongshan architecture. I'm a fan of architecture and beautiful buildings, and every region of China has a different, unique architecture. In Western Guangdong, they have the Hakka architecture. Here in the major cities of Guangdong, the Pro River Delta, they have a very distinct architecture, mostly just square boxes. But they have interesting dynamics between high rises and low rises and mixed use, as well as some amazing modern buildings and the cookie cutter kind of apartment blocks and super blocks that you see, and how they contrast with the more Soviet style apartment blocks that are still around. It's gonna be very interesting. But I love architecture, and I'll point out some simple like little things that happen with how architecture and design of buildings is integrated with the infrastructure, the roads and the rail systems, and how it all blends together here, because it's not like anywhere else I've ever been. There's a there's a different dynamic here. Okay, next I'm going to talk about China when I first arrived, which was almost 4 years ago, and China now. What I believe then about China and what I understand to be the truth now, and maybe even some misconceptions that I still have that I'm looking to get more information on. Shopping in China 2.0. I did a video when I first came about 2.5 years ago when I was living in Xiaolan about clothes shopping in Xiaolan, which is a small town, and how difficult it was. Things have changed. Things have changed a lot. I have changed. I have learned the proper places to go and how to shop properly. A lot of people shop online. I don't shop online. I just don't like it. I think Taobao and those shopping apps make you fat. You need to get off your ass and go to the mall and walk around. Okay, let's go back to this. Hot water really works. There's a thing here, if your friend is sick, you say to her, "Oh, drink hot water," and she'll smack you. She's like, everyone wants you to smack hot water. When I went to the doctor for my shoulder, the doctor said, "Get plenty of rest and drink hot water." It's like ancient Chinese secret here. I do drink a lot of hot water. I love tea and everything, but on a hot day, give me an ice cold, iced tea or something. Hassan, does China still need English teachers? How come the salary of English teachers is higher compared to the salary of the average Chinese? That's a great question. And it's something that, as a foreign teacher, you need to be aware of and not take for granted. I see many English teachers that come here to China and they make their salary, they work their 40 hours, and then they complain about it. And I tell them that's the wrong message to send, because your colleagues, your local Chinese teachers, make a third of what you make, and they work 6 days a week, and they work a hell of a lot harder than you do. And many of these people have studied the English language, throughout college. They have degrees in English and everything. You come in as a foreigner and you make all this money, and you still work hard, but it goes a long way to show your appreciation for the local staff and the support that they do. The local staff usually teach a lower level of China or of English, and then you teach a higher level. That's kind of the dynamic between the two. But you showing that you're humble and giving up a morning, instead of sleeping in, going to work for a morning and help out at the school, whatever training center or whatever. You're not getting paid for it, but who cares? You just going in and go to the meetings that are all in Chinese. You won't understand anything, and they're giving the employee of the month or anything, and show your support. Go in there, eat the birthday cake, and attend the team buildings. Do all of this stuff. It makes a huge difference to the working relationships between the foreign teachers and the local teachers. Too often I see a disconnect between the two, and not in many schools all throughout China, that disconnect is very famous. Do whatever you can to bring it together. Okay. I will treat the local staff to dinner. They know how much money you make. They know that you make a ton more money than they do. So show your appreciation. Just buy them dinner. When you all go out to dinner together, just pick up the tab. These little things, or like today, I was you know I was at the office, and I just got some candy because I wanted some sugar, but I got a ton. This was a full bag. I got a ton more, and I just put it out, and I said, "Hey, help you guys, help you out, help yourselves." Those little things make a huge difference in your relationships with your colleagues. So I highly recommend that you do that. Now, the reason why we make more money is because number one, we have higher salary expectations coming from a Western country. In America, teachers make a lot of money compared to China. And so to incentivize people to come over and teach, you have to pay them money and treat them well, especially qualified teachers who if you have a bachelor's degree and a TEFL and all this stuff, you can make a good living doing a ton of other things. Why would you go to China and teach? So they need to make it's supply and demand, and as less and less, as all the unqualified teachers are being filtered out, all the qualified teachers that are staying here are getting more money. I mean, that's supply and demand, Econ 101, right? And yes, China still needs English teachers. Now, there's many reasons for this. Number one is, of course, English is the international language, and everyone wants to learn English, and that's a great thing. It really is. Every country I go to, there'll be a Japanese person and a Vietnamese person, right? Neither of them speak each other's language, but they communicate in English, and that happens in every country that I've ever been to in the world. So in learning a little bit of the local language is great, but when it comes to business and getting down to it, English is the common one. So that's why it's so popular. They also have the Gaokao, which is the college entrance exam, and English is a big part of that. So that's why you see a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers coming to training centers and working on their English, because Gaokao is just a huge part of that. However, I believe this year you can choose your language. So there's a choice. You can choose. Oh, hold on. I'm being rickrolled right now. So you can choose your language. So I know a lot of students who are choosing Japanese, and so I have a friend who teaches Japanese, and she's got a lot more business now as a Japanese teacher. But English is still number one, and so the demand is still very, very high, and the supply is very, very low. BQ44, thank you for watching my videos, BQ44, and commenting and being so supportive. I really do appreciate that. Jason from Canada here, and ex-former teacher at Metten. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so did you have a good experience at Metten? I did. Some people don't, and it's a shame. it really depends on your head teacher and the relationships you have at the center. Where did you teach, by the way, Jason? Amazon is being kicked out of China. Is that true? Is Amazon being kicked out? I heard that they were just leaving. There's no business. They do such little business here that just being completely eclipsed by Taobao and Tmall that it wasn't worth it staying. I don't know if they're being kicked out. I don't think Amazon is hurting though. They're doing just fine even without China. They're still kicking ass. I took my then 1-year-old daughter to Metten on a couple of occasions and on my off days just to say hi. Oh, okay. Um, Never going to give you up. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I've been rickrolled. I taught in the 2 malls in Shichi. Oh, I remember you. Yeah, I remember you we talked before on this, Ron. We share a lot of the same friends: Randall, AC, Mark, you know, um, Tom. All these guys. They're good friends of mine. I know them well. I hang out with them often. You know, AC's gone back to Egypt, but he still comes. He does business in Fujian. So I had dinner with him just a couple of weeks ago. And Randall's like my best buddy here. We hang out all the time. Tom comes around every now and then. Mark's in Guangzhou now, but his wife is from Zhongshan, so they come down and hang out a long time too. So I'll say hi to Randall for you. I just talked to him today. So I'll say hi to him for you. Yeah, I agree. China can't have enough qualified English teachers. I agree, dude. I mean, good English teachers. I'm not talking your, fresh off the boat backpackers that you get in Thailand and all these other places. When I went to Vietnam, I studied the English teaching scene in Vietnam, and I love Vietnam. What a great country! It's beautiful, friendly. It's cheap to live. The food is delicious. It's free. There's a lot of freedom there. Wonderful place. I was so tempted to make a trip there, but then I started diving into job prospects there, and it is just overrun and saturated with unqualified teachers that are the backpacker scene, and they just looking to make some extra cash, which is fine. But for a serious teacher looking to make money and make it a career, Southeast Asia is overrun. And again, it's supply and demand. There's a lot of supply. There's almost no regulation. And so the salaries are low. I mean, yeah, it's cheap to live there. And you can live there and teach and have a great life. But if you're a serious English teacher, the future's here in China, guys. It's not South Korea. It's not Japan. It's in China. This is the place to be. Yeah, I'm telling you, we're just beginning here. It's just starting. It's going to get even better. I have videos of Mint and stuff. Want to see them? Yes, I'd love to see them. I'll upload them onto my channel, but won't make them public. Dude, I'd love to see them. That would be great. I'd love to see the old style Metin and send me the link. That'd be awesome. H2I investors, Bright from Africa. What are some possible opportunities of studying in China recently? Tons. If you want to come to China and study, they'd love to have you. It's very simple to get a study visa, or excuse me, a student visa. Very, very simple. Now, and there are even talking about allowing some students to work part-time as well. So you can have a part-time job. That hasn't come to fruition yet, but it will. They're really, really talking about it to entice more and more students to come here. And the Chinese universities, many of them are, they're okay, but they're starting to gain notoriety. They really are. They just increased their education budget in China 8% last year. So they're funding more and more money into the universities, and they're being scrutinized, especially at the higher level. The number one university in Asia last year was Singapore University. This year it's number 2. The number 1 is like Xinhua. I can't remember the name. It's a big fancy university in Beijing. It's not Peking University, but there's another one up there. That's number 1 in all of Asia. It beat out Hong Kong Tech. It beat out Tokyo, beat out Singapore. China's got some great opportunities to study. If you speak Chinese, it's easier, but you can come here and take a remedial Chinese course beginning and study Chinese first. And then after 2 or 3 years, once you've got enough Chinese under your belt, then you can move into business or economics or technology or biomedical, whatever you want. The opportunity to study here is great, and it's not expensive. It's cheap to live. Tuition is cheap. It's heavily subsidized by the government. So I highly recommend it. And they always want foreigners to come. They want to diversify the college experience, not just to gain international notoriety, but also to develop the local Chinese worldliness. You know, the more foreigners they have around, the more worldly they are. So it's a good thing for everybody. So if you want to come to China to study, come to China to study. It's great. I'll do that later. I have one Mark singing in public. Yeah. I'm on a WeChat group with Mark and Randall, and they spend a lot of time making their own music. I have my own opinions about their songs. All right, great questions. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. I love helping guys out. Okay, so I've been on for about an hour. I'll stay longer and answer any questions that you have. The real reason why I started this one is to talk about. Oh wait, how is the economy of China nowadays? Is it up or down? Thank you for that's what I want to get into. It's up. You know, you see. I saw a video. If you look ADB China, which is Serpent ZN, and Sea Milk, they were talking about the housing market, and you can always tell the health of an economy by the housing market. And they're saying that it's a bubble and it's about to burst, and in certain places it's gone down. I have a real problem with that video. I love those guys. I think they're great. I've learned a lot from them. They're really knowledgeable. They know about China. Whatever your opinions about their opinions, it doesn't matter. You know, they have pretty good insight. I don't agree with everything they say, and this is one of them that I really had a problem. In fact, I wrote them a comment saying, "Hey, you know, what you just said about the Chinese real estate market is kind of irresponsible." I look at it like this: in the big cities, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Beijing, it's very expensive. Of course it is. It's a big city, supply and demand. And then they go to the outskirts and they see these big giant housing developments that are empty. Of course, that happens in every country. And just because one little small town has a dip in their prices doesn't mean that's indicative of the entire market. You really have to take it into chunks. And every city has its own kind of government rules and ways of dealing with things. It's so nuanced that there's no way to say what's happening here is going to affect the entire country, especially in China, because the real estate is all owned by the government. It's not really owned by private investors. It's a lease. You take a 99-year lease. That's all it is. So the government's going to take care of it. They're going to take care of. They're going to make sure nothing goes around. They put in these other places. Now, in some places that might be overheated, and you're going to see a little correction. But the fact that there's a bubble throughout the whole country is ridiculous. More and more, look at Shenzhen. Yeah, the prices are high because so many people are moving there. That's the place to be. And if you go to Shenzhen, there are no empty flats in Shenzhen. It is crowded, just like Hong Kong. It's crowded. Guangzhou is the same thing. But if you go to the outskirts and some of these little satellite towns all around, yeah, you got a lot of developments that, you know, they were speculating that it was going to be great, but they don't have the transportation infrastructure in place for the commuter people to go in. I know what I'm talking about, guys. I spent many years as a real estate analyst, and you can't apply Western thinking of real estate to Chinese real estate. It's a completely different monster. Ownership rules, liquidity requirements, capital markets, development, the zoning laws. All of this is completely different, and I don't know enough about it to make a definitive judgment. But I do know that if a podunk little town in Guangdong has a 40% vacancy rate, that doesn't necessarily mean that the housing in the entire country is in a bubble. You have to look at it even within the cities themselves. Here in Zhongshan, the center of town is booming. There's tons of people, and every flat is got people living in there, whether they're renting or owning. It doesn't matter. There's the high demand, and the prices are going up. On the outskirts, there's a little development over here that has a couple of towers and maybe a small little hotel and a little shopping mall, and you see maybe 20% occupied. I wouldn't buy a house in that little development, especially because, you know, there's a highway that kind of cuts it off from the rest of the community, so it's in its own little area. I wouldn't buy there. That's stupid. But on the other side of the highway, there's a bus station that connects with the BRT into downtown. We've got a McDonald's, a Starbucks, an IMAX theater, and 4 residential towers that are completely full. That's where people live. So you have successful developments and unsuccessful developments, even within a couple blocks of each other. But people like to focus on the unsuccessful development and say, well, that's happening all around the country, and it's not. It's very localized. So you're going to continue to see prices increase where people want to live, and prices will decrease in less development in places where people don't want to live. That's it. It's supply and demand 101. So if you want to invest in property in China, you really have to study the local market where you want to stay. I believe Zhongshan is a good. It's the cheapest place in the Pearl River Delta to live, and prices are going up. And they're building the bridge that will be a 15-20 minute drive to Shenzhen. Just like they built the bridge from Zhuhai, Macau over to Hong Kong, they're building another one with a little tunnel to go across the bay from Zhongshan to Shenzhen. Right now, you have to drive up into Guangdong, and there's a heavily congested bridge with tons of traffic, and it takes 2 or 3 hours just to get to the airport. With the new bridge, and it'll be heavily used, unlike the Hong Kong Macau bridge, which hardly anyone uses because it's so much bureaucracy and you have to get registrations and insurance in 3 different places. It's a pain in the ass. It's hardly ever used except for very rich people and the bus companies and the transit companies. Anyways, that's my take on real estate. Now, as far as the economy goes, we're not seeing 10% GDP growth anymore, but it slowed down to 6%. And I was like, oh my God, the economy's exploded. Dude, they're still growing at 6%. It's the second largest economy in the world. America's growing at what, 1.5%? And that's good. They're doing very well. We're still growing. China's still growing at 6%. They're still killing it. It is, and they've got all this investment in the infrastructure here, roads and rail and ports and the One Belt Initiative, which by the way is just going to make things even more crazy here, I think. Yeah, there are localized and little, factories close and move to Vietnam, factory close, or they move a product line to Mexico or something, and that's mostly as a result of the tariffs that America has imposed. And I have my own opinions about all of that, but on the whole, the economy is still gangbusters here. The shopping is, and if you look at the retail sales, if you look at tech, even heavy manufacturing, especially heavy, not light manufacturing like making little widgets and little plastic toys and sending them. That's here and there, but heavy industry is still a juggernaut here. New tech, green tech, all this stuff is exploding in China. So now we're one. You hear a story about, oh, this industry is dying. Well, this other industry is growing twice as fast. So I'm pretty bullish on China. So I'm going to my non-teaching government job now. Take care. Okay. Good on you, brother. There's nothing wrong with a teaching job. A lot of you non-teachers out there love to shit on the English teaching community. I think that's wrong. And I've been a victim of it. I was on an airplane and some guy gave me a bunch of shit about being an English teacher. He started putting me in this box, in this category of things that I'm not. And I had to straighten him out a little bit. It happened to me again too. I'll talk about this in a video. I was back home in America, and I remember I was walking with my father. We were, walking out of a grocery store or something, and he saw an old friend. I think it was a client of his or something, and he say, "Hi, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you. What have you been up to?" "Oh, I'm an English teacher in China. I work at a college out there." And he's like, "Oh, that's great. I'd love to go to Asia and fuck around for a little while." No, I'm not messing around here. It's a job. I work hard. Teaching is a job, and it's a well-respected job. So I had to set him a little, and he was a rich businessman kind of dude. I had to set him straight a little bit. I'm constantly fighting that stereotype of that. You see less and less here in China, of course. Hassan, is the one-child policy still exist or no? And how the Chinese government handling the problem of shortage of women compared to men? And what's your opinion on that? Thanks in advance. Okay, so the answer is The one child policy does not exist. They now have a two-child policy. However, if you want to have more children than that, you can. You just pay the fine, if you will. It's a fee for doing it. But now they're even going beyond that, and they want people to have more children, because they have such a demographic imbalance where there's a lot. It's just like in America, you got a lot of old people retiring and not enough young people to pay to support the retirement programs. So they have the same problem going on here, and they are aware of it. They're trying to entice more children and families to, and there's a baby boom. There's a baby boom. I see this a lot. Families that want to have kids, they're having kids, having a ton of kids. When you go to any mall, there's baby stores galore. There's tons of children everywhere. It's a big population. I also see the younger generation getting married later. Women are working more, starting their professional careers and being more reluctant to get married and start a family. Unlike their families want them to get married and start a family, they're saying, no, I'm going to live my life. So the younger generation is getting married less, and they don't want to have multiple children because it's becoming more and more expensive to do that. As far as the imbalance of men to women, here in Guangdong, I haven't seen it. I mean, there's so many people. There's tons of women, especially if you go to Shenzhen. My God, there's so many women there. I think there's more women than men in Shenzhen. This mostly affects the more rural parts of China, where it's the women are being emptied out and they're going to, they're all going to college and they're all getting jobs in the cities, and some of the men who didn't get education are staying behind and they have nothing to do. They become migrant workers. Um, I haven't seen any problems with it. You do see on the news stories of like them trying to find wives in other parts of Southeast Asia and Indonesia, Vietnam. They have trafficking problems, trying to find women to come and become husbands for these men in the rural areas. But I think that would happen in every country, not just in China. And even if there wasn't an imbalance, shit like that, I'm sure would happen. So I don't find it to be an issue, really. If anything, women can choose to be more picky about their partners who they choose to be their partner. So it's good for women, I guess. It's good for everybody. The one child policy is a disaster. The government should cease it much earlier. Maybe. I don't know much about it. It has created a lot of problems. I think they started it in good faith, but yeah, it has created this problem that exists now, as well as a lot of heartache amongst families and a lot of aborted babies and leftover babies and things like this. You do see that a lot, and there's a lot of children out there that are unregistered. They because their families can't afford the fee of the second baby, so they're living in secret, basically. That does exist too. So it's unfortunate. The new trend is buying women from Ukraine. What's been going on for years, guys? The mail order bride. I worked with a guy at a hotel in Southern California. He was a young, good-looking guy, and he had a mail order bride from Moldova, which is one of the old Russian blocks. And she was a sweet lady. She's a hard worker, and they worked together at the hotel. I think it's kind of lame that you have to go find a bride. I have my own thoughts about marriage in general, but you go find a bride in a foreign country, just because the economics work in your favor is kind of lame. So, all right. Keep the questions coming, guys. In the meantime, I'm going to read for you an article that I think will stir some good conversation. Where is it? Where is it? Shoot. Oh, I have it here. Oh, no, damn it. That's not it. Let's try this here. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, there it is. Okay, cool. All right. We're talking about the economy. And if you're in China, you understand this. If you've never been to China, then you can't possibly understand the size of the market here. Again, coming from America, you think, oh, America's a very mature, economy, and you got businesses and big buildings, and it's wonderful. But then you come to China, and everything is times three. It's big times three, and it changes constantly. And it's growing fast, and so it's hard to fathom it. I know I didn't understand it until I actually saw it with my own eyes, and I really appreciate it now when I go back to America and I see that okay, it's Los Angeles, New York, big cities. Nothing compared to China. Los Angeles is I mean, the city itself is like 4 million people. And then you have all the satellite cities around it, in Orange County and the Inland Empire. And you're looking at what, 15 million people? Well, Guangzhou's 15 million people. Then you add to it Zhongshan, Foshan, Dongguan, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Zhongshan, all of these. And you're upwards of, 50, 60 million people. And you need places for those people to work. You need places for those people to live. You need to move them around on the highways and the trains. You need to educate their children. You need police stations and fire stations and libraries and parks. And you need to grow food and then get those foods to the market. You need factories and you need ports and all of this stuff you need to support this massive metropolis that it really is. I mean, it's big as I've seen it in New York, and even if you go to some of the smaller cities, you go to Cincinnati, you go to Omaha, Nebraska. There's good sized cities, and they have all of this stuff. Imagine all of that times 100. I mean, that's the Pearl River Delta for it. So let's 11 surprising facts about the Chinese economy. Okay, this is from JobTube Daily. It's a source from Business Insider. China is the world's largest exporter. We all know that. Your air conditioner is probably made in China as well as your computer and maybe even your shoes. It's true. My shoes, this computer I'm on right now, it's all made here, all made down the street. But there's a lot more to China's economy than goods it exports to the US. China's booming economy means a booming demand for luxury brands and a growing list of billionaires. And old traditions have been given a modern twist, such as Lunar New Year is not only the most important and widely celebrated Chinese holiday, but is now the biggest shopping week of the year, too. We do Christmas, right? Man, you know how big Christmas is in the West. Imagine Christmas times 10, you know, and instead of, in America, the Christmas shopping season, what, Thanksgiving to Christmas, like a month? Here it's like 2 months because they actually do start their shopping season for Christmas and they celebrate Christmas, not with Jesus and all that, but as a gift giving time for family. So they shop through Christmas and they shop through January, and then February is Lunar New Year, and it's massive. You spend a ton of money. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's go back over here. Hassan, let's see what you said here, brother. Um, Should I be afraid from the Chinese food? Because I saw a documentary that shows you how some restaurants and a lot of chemical ingredients in order for the food to taste good, so that they can profit. Yeah, just be smart about it. I don't shop at the wet markets. I'm sure it's fine, but I don't know where that food's grown. I don't. I rarely go to like the cheap little mom and pop wonton. I know which documentary. I think you sent it to me. The wonton places, because yeah, you're gonna get a lot of that. Okay. And your body will absorb it and filter it out, and you'll be fine. But if you eat it on a consistent basis, you're gonna hurt your body. So just be smart. And I shop at a very posh, expensive supermarket, and I get the organic crap, and it's more expensive. And true, I'm not sure if that's 100% safe, but I haven't been sick. I feel very healthy. Again, the only time I got sick here was from undercooked chicken breast that I made myself. So, um, food safety has gotten a lot better. But if you go to a late night barbecue place that has very few people and looks a little dirty, a little shady, yeah, you can get sick. That's in any country you go to. I don't care if you're in China, America, Thailand, doesn't matter. If the place looks shady and dirty, probably going to be sick. But if you got a lot of people going there and line out the door, and the prices are high, you probably get the real shit. If you spend 10 RMB for a bowl of wonton soup, it's 10 RMB because it's cheap. But if you pay 30 RMB for it, it might be the real thing. So use your own discretion. There's no way of knowing completely. There's no way of being 100% sure, but just be smart about it. You really need to get used to MSG. Yeah, there's a lot of MSG and a lot of the food here, and I'm not a fan of it. So again, I cook for myself, and I go to more expensive restaurants than the average person does. How good or bad is the real economy on the ground? The shops full of shoppers. Yes, everyone shops here. Shopping is like the national pastime in China. It's become. It's really incredible. All the mall. Well, you have two types of malls. You have the new malls that are still kind of gaining ground as people move into the local communities, um, and they take a long time to fill up and to gain maturity. You have the existing malls, which have been around and they have existing businesses, and people are shopping. The great thing about China still is that there's still the mom and pop stores here. And in Zhongshan, at least, I can walk down the street and I'll see a sporting goods store. It's owned by a family, and they're selling badminton and soccer balls. And then right next to that is a fitness store that's selling treadmills. And right next to that is a hardware store. And next to that is a barber shop. Next to that is a bakery. And these are all mom and pop shops. And mixed in, you have all these chain stores that are mostly franchises, and you can get a franchise corner store, or franchise bakery, or but again, they're mom and pop. Then you go to the bigger malls and you see the larger chains and the larger restaurants. And you get the McDonald's and Starbucks. So it's a good mix. But the barriers of entry for starting a business here for the local Chinese are really small. Invest capital is cheap. Uh, Space is cheap as far as the rent goes. Labor costs are cheap. Because capital is so cheap, you can get a loan to stock your inventory. So starting a business here, it's pretty simple, and it's encouraged. Small businesses heavily encouraged. Taxes are low, and they've gotten even lower. They've cut business taxes greatly here. I know many foreigners that have a business here, and they don't pay very much in taxes, and they do very well. But of course, just like in any economy, you have to have solid business fundamentals. If you open a coffee shop next to another coffee shop, well, then you're going to strangle each other, and you're both going to, kind of die. And you see that with phone stores here. You have a phone store that'll open up and it does very well, and then three other phone stores will open up right next to it, and they just strangle each other, and the whole thing just dies. That's common. You'll see that. So you have to have good, strong business fundamentals to begin with. You can't just open up the store and expect to make money. There's many people I've met who open up a cafe or a coffee shop. Seems to be the thing. They spend all this money decorating, making it look beautiful, and they wonder, why don't I have any customers? Well, it's because you opened it up right around the corner from Starbucks. Starbucks is going like gangbusters out here, so you have to still be smart about it. First time I caught you live. Ah, good to hear that. Good. Fairground Fox, you have been one of my supporters on my channel since the very beginning, since I think I had like 30 subscribers. So I appreciate the last couple of years of your support and your commenting and being very kind to me. So thank you, sir. I do appreciate you. Okay. So let's talk more about the economy here. Here 11. Number one, China imports more U.S. agricultural products than Canada and Mexico. That is true. China is the main market for agricultural exports from the U.S., beating its closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico. Soybeans account for more than half of the U.S. $9.2 billion. Actually, it's $13.2 billion today, but China bought from the U.S. farmers in 2018. Yeah, we grow food not just for ourselves, but for the world. And man, and then they feed it to the pork or to the pigs out here. And, pork is a big part of the Chinese diet. And, it's circle of life kind of stuff. Right? Oh, okay. Hassan, I have an exotic look. I'm brown and I have curly hair. It's more like an afro hair. Should I cut it before coming to China, or is it okay? Because I don't know how the Chinese people think. That's a great question. Your experience will be different than mine, for sure. I'm a bald old white guy with red hair, and I'm American. And there's still it's getting less and less, but there's still a little bit of a stereotype of a white English teacher as opposed to the dark English teacher. And that varies from city to city. If you're in an older town that's a little bit more conservative, you're going to get that. If you're in a bigger city, such as Shenzhen, Guangzhou, it doesn't matter where you're from or what you look like. You're going to be treated as a world citizen. So that's my that's what I believe is true. But then again, I don't know for sure. My recommendation to you is be who you are, be proud of who you are, come here, flaunt what you got. If people have a problem with you, that's their problem. That's not your problem. You do you. And those who want to listen, you educate them. You say, look, I this is the way we look in my country. And that's the best advice I can give to anyone going anywhere. Don't worry about what other people think about you. You do you. That's all I have to say about that, man. I wish you luck, dude. You're gonna do just fine. It's not a big problem. You might run across some people who have a problem. They might say something. Who cares? Who cares? Just be proud of you. Chinese people think it cool and someone might want to touch it somehow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because it's so rare. They've never seen it. My beard, they always want to come and touch my beard. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. Because they don't have red beards in China. It's such a different look. So if you have an afro, man, rock it, dude. I say grow that shit out and say, look what I got. You're going to stand out no matter what you do or however your hair looks. You're going to stand out. So freaking rock it. That's how I think. Okay. Number 2. China is home to a retailer bigger than Walmart and Amazon. That's true. Amazon's big. Walmart's obviously the biggest brick and mortar. If you think the world's biggest retailer is Walmart, think again. If you think Amazon is the biggest online retailer, wrong again. Both titles go to Alibaba and Taobao. China's online sales giant moves almost 3 times as much merchandise as Amazon, and when you count in its subsidiaries, it has inched past Walmart as the biggest retailer, and it grows by double digits every year. It's huge. Alibaba is making a foray into the American e-commerce market with AliExpress, which is already the 6th biggest online shopping site in the US. That is being led mostly by the Asian community, the Chinese community within America, just like WeChat. People use Facebook in America, right? But the Chinese community uses WeChat. And it's not just Chinese community, it's the Asian community, the Koreans and the Vietnamese and the Japanese all use it too. And this is how it's going to start to infiltrate the rest of the American market. Now, whether or not it takes Amazon head on, I have no idea. Amazon just seems to be the juggernaut, the big fish in town. So it'll grow. Definitely will grow. Whether or not it becomes number 1 or even takes on Amazon or Walmart in America, that remains to be seen. I don't think it will. Just that's my personal thought. I have no reason for that thought. I just believe in it. Okay. Good evening, Rusty. Good to see you. Hassan, anytime, man. Hope you come here and have a great time, man. Have a positive attitude and have a great outlook on life. Amazon and Walmart are busted in China. Why? Oh, Billy, good to see you, buddy. I'm in your old apartment, Billy. uh, it works fine. They got my air conditioning working. I got a new toilet, and they brought me a brand new TV. So I'm sitting pretty here. My first year at the college is almost done, and I've had a great year, and I signed up for another year, man. So they miss you here. They always talk about you, and oh, Billy did this, Billy did that, and I kind of modeled a lot of my lesson plans off of what I saw from you. So I hope you're doing well. I think you're in is it Dongshan? You're living in Dongshan now? So good to hear from you, dude. Amazon and Walmart are busting in China. I think Amazon just lost steam. It didn't carry any weight here. It wasn't growing. Again, it's just overshadowed by Taobao. Walmart is still here, and I believe they're still growing. There's even Costco's here. They did close a Walmart in downtown Zhongshan, but it was a crappy store. I mean, the layout was terrible. The location was not convenient for the local shoppers. It was over 3 stories in an office building. It was just a really bad design store. But there's another one here in Kaifachu that anchors an entire mall, and it's packed with people. And it's a more of a traditional type of Walmart that you see in the West with a giant parking lot and a lot more satellite stores that are feeding it. It's just a better design store. So many Walmarts are still kicking butt here. I like Walmart. I go to Walmart all the time. It's great. shopped at Walmart in China before. A bit different from American Walmart. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but of course, in a different country. But an Amazon problem was management issue. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was them getting kicked out or forced out. I think they just, like many American enterprises in China, don't understand the markets here, and so they mismanage things, especially in the online sector. They don't understand that there's a difference between American online market and the Chinese online market. They're two completely different monsters. And if you bring Western management to China and try to manage local teams, it ain't going to work. You really have to set up stuff on the ground here and then trust in the local management to do their thing. And that's why Taobao, because Taobao caters to the local market. Taobao doesn't cater to the market in America, so it's going to take some time for it to grow, I think. Glad to hear that. Seems like you're having an interesting discussion here. I'm in Dongshan, yeah. My ex-girlfriend's there, dude. Dongshan. Hey, they play a lot of baseball in Dongshan, right? I want to come up and watch a baseball game, like on a Sunday. So maybe I know a lot of the local middle schools, but I also see them building a giant stadium, baseball stadium right now, just off the Dongshan high-speed rail station. And I want to do a story about baseball. I know they make a lot of the, what do you call it, the baseball bats and the mitts and the equipment in Dongshan and some of the factories there. But do you know anything about the baseball in Dongshan? I'd really love to learn more. Nothing get done unless get permission from Seattle. Yeah, and that's been a common problem with. I mean, I did a video about, do Americans truly understand Chinese? And there's a bunch of case studies about American companies just failing here because they try to micromanage it with Western management styles and from America, and they don't trust in the local community and the local managers to make decisions. And that's, I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. Yes, the Panda Little League program is interesting. They have an international competition every year. Cool. I want to learn more about this. They have club teams from Japan, Korea, Taiwan that come to play against Chinese youth teams. Awesome. I want to come see a game. I'm dying for baseball. I watch my Dodger games online every morning, but I'd love to get a sense of the local baseball community and how it's growing here. Dongshan is only one of only 5 towns in all of China that Major League Baseball has invested money in. And I've seen it as I've been around the town, just going to the store to, you know, on my way to Xiaolan for a week. I see the baseball fields, but I never see anyone actually playing baseball. And I think I'm going at the wrong times. But the Panda Little League, I'd love to see it. Okay, so I need to research that and get more information. I just want to go and watch a game, honestly. Just cheer on the local team, man. I'll see if I figure out what the competition will be or any others and let you know. Thanks, Billy. I do appreciate it. I do want to do a video about that too. I want to do about sports in China, but I also just, I'm a huge baseball fan and I'd love to see, and nobody in China knows anything about baseball except in Dongshan. So I'd love to get more insight into that and maybe even get involved. I'd love to go to a batting cage and just hit some balls, man. LA Dodgers, third time lucky. So we're doing well so far, but it's really early in the season, and we'll see what happens. Again, I follow every game. I'm a huge Dodger fan. I'm going home in July for my birthday, and I do plan on going to a couple games while I'm there, man. Well, like NBA, American Baseball League has been in China over the last 10 years. That's true. But for some reason, not successful as the NBA. There's many reasons for that. NBA basketball is a much easier sport to play. You mean you can play it one-on-one, you can play it by yourself, and there's many variations. You can play horse. You can play it indoor. You can play it outdoor. All you need is a hoop and a ball. The cost of the equipment is low. You can play it anywhere. If it's raining, you can go inside and play it. Baseball, you need a lot more players. It's highly regulated, a lot more rules. The equipment is more expensive. You need more time to play it. And if it's raining, you don't have anywhere inside to play. So I get it, especially in a country like China where space is limited for that kind of thing. It can be tough. But I do think, like any sport, if time, energy, and money, it will grow, and it is growing here. It's growing very slowly, but I think it will grow in time. That's what I'm hoping, at least. Thanks, Billy. I do appreciate it. Dongshan is in Inner Mongolia. No, Dongshan here in Zhongshan. Zhongshan is a provincial city with many different towns. I currently live in Kaifachu, and there's also Shiqi. There's Sanxiang, Xiaolan. There's Sanxi. There's Nanlang, Minzhong. There's tons of different little towns, and Dongshan is one of them. And it's just north of Shiqi between here and Xiaolan. It's maybe 20 kilometers away from me. It's a very small little town. It's famous for river fish and manufacturing. Mm. Yeah, cool. How's business, Billy? I hope you're doing well, man. Um, haven't seen you since you left here, dude. Life is good here. I've really enjoyed this college and uh, the opportunity. So, you had to vacate the position for me to get here. So I do appreciate it. All right. Let's move on. Number three, China has the second. I love Michael Jackson. I saw the documentary Leaving Neverland about all the little boys and the sex crap, and that sucked. It sucked to watch that, man. It's so true about it. But you can't deny his musical genius, and especially this old stuff from the '80s. He was just incredible. I loved watching him when I was a little boy. Captain EO and shit from Disneyland. Of course, the Bad album, the Thriller album. Who didn't have that, right? Okay. Yeah. Business is good. Just keep moving. Oh wait. Did you learn Chinese language? If yes, then how you did it? Ah, okay. Hassan, my Chinese is still really shit. I learn something every day, and I'm getting better and better every day with very little investment of time. If I spent more time on it, I'd be much further along. I friends of mine who have been here same amount of time as me, and it seems like they're fluent. But I put very little effort into my Chinese, and I'm the first one to admit that that's a bad thing. So put some effort into it. I have books. I've watched some YouTube videos. I have friends and colleagues that have taught me things here and there, but mostly the Chinese that I know now I've picked up over time. And I have survival Chinese. I can go places and order restaurant foods and give directions and have simple little conversations. Um, but I still revert to my translator app if I don't know the word. But I really do put an effort to learn a couple phrases, a phrase here, and put it to use. If I don't use it often, then I forget it. Then few things, learn how to ask questions and learn how to give directions and learn numbers and things for shopping. Those are the survival Chinese that you're going to need to learn, especially where you're going. And then after that, you pick up things here and there, and then the rest of it's up to you. Okay. Business is good. Just keep moving forward. Yep. Just keep swimming, dude. Thanks. I got a little confused on translated city names. There's probably 4 or 5 Dongshens in China, right? So Dongshan town and tiny. I thought it. Yeah. Sorry, I can't read the Chinese, man. Okay, number 3. Oh, another Michael Jackson. The way you make me feel. Awesome. The number of billionaires in China, 388, is a little more than half that of the United States at 680. And collectively, US billionaires have almost 3 times as much money as those in China. But China is coming up fast, adding 55 new billionaires in 2017, the most of any country, through a 2018 downturn knocked 49 billionaires down to mere millionaires. Oh, darn. But the richest man in China is only the 21st richest person in the world. Obviously, the richest man in the world is Jeff Bezos, estimated fortune 131 billion. I think it's even more than that now. Owns the second biggest online retail business, Amazon. Jack Ma, or Ma Yu, as he's known here, CEO of Alibaba, the world's largest retailer, is only number 21 on the Forbes billionaire list, behind people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg. Ma's net worth is slightly less than 40 billion, which is still a shit ton of money. And he used to be an English teacher, by the way. So people who talk shit about English teachers, yeah, I'd like to tell that to Jack Ma. What am I doing here? 1 second. Okay. Chinese consumers spend $73 billion on luxury goods each year. My God, if you go to Macau or Hong Kong, Shenzhen or Guangzhou, there are Prada, Chanel, and Louis Vuitton, and Hugo Boss, all of these big fancy luxury retailers, Coach, and everywhere. And you'll have one giant mall with all of them, and people are lined up outside the Louis Vuitton store, just to walk in and get a salesperson's attention. They're lined up outside the store, and they'll be at one mall, and then across the street will be another mall with the exact same thing. And then if you go to Macau, every one of those resorts has these stores in them. If you go to the if you go to the Parisian or the Four Seasons and to the Prada store there, well, then you can just go across the street to the Wynn, to the Prada store there, and find the exact same shit, and they're filled with people. It's insane. Who are these people buying all this? You go to the airports now. You go to Hong Kong airport. There's a Prada store in the Hong Kong airport. Who's waiting for their flight and saying, you know what, I really need these Prada shoes? I don't get it. Who buys a $10,000 Rolex while they're waiting for the ferry to get to Shenzhen? Just who are these people? All right. Have you thought about starting your own business by yourself? Of course I have. Um, I have friends of mine who started their own training business, teaching not just that, but consulting, business consulting, foreign trade, things like this. Um, I'm still developing my ideas right now. I've started businesses in the past. I've started two, one that didn't make any money and one that made a lot of money. And my experience was great, but I'm not the big entrepreneur. I mean, I kind of like not having that responsibility. I work, you pay me for the work I do, and then I go do the things I enjoy. Now, if I can make traveling, if I can make hotel reviews and that kind of lifestyle a business, a viable business, I would do it in a heartbeat. Because those are the things I really, if I can make hiking and eating food, staying in five-star resorts a business of some kind, I'll do it, man. But, you know, right now I make like $5 a month on YouTube. That's not, I'm happy for the $5 a month, honestly. All right. But if I do start a business, as an old man, as I get older and I can't travel and stuff, I thought about going back home and maybe opening a bed and breakfast hotel. I really love that lifestyle. Um, as an old man, that might be a thing for me. MLB partnership will see more than 20 new business training or baseball training facilities built in China. Bitchin'. The more the better. I'd love to see baseball take off here. Can you imagine as big as basketball has become in China with the CBA and even the NBA is so popular here? If baseball can gain popularity, much like the NBA and all that, and take off here like it has in Korea and Japan over the last few decades, that'll be great. It'll be great for baseball. I think it'll be great for the world. I love baseball. It's a gentleman's game, and it's my favorite game. That's only because I grew up with it. So. What's your opinion about the trade war? I went to the consulate last week, and a lot of people had these questions. What's about the trade war? And they had very diplomatic answers. They said, it's not a trade war. We call it trade disputes. Whatever it is. My opinion is that it's stupid. And I'm not just saying that because I live in China. I was for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I thought that was a better way of dealing with the trade imbalance and these trade issues. because it was really forcing China's hand to deal with the success that they've been having. You know, they as an economy grows and they start making more money, there are new challenges that they have to deal with, and that's what China's been doing. And I thought the Trans-Pacific Partnership was designed to really contain China and force their hand in dealing with certain problems. But now without that, with tariffs, it's forced China to do different things. And I'm not talking about the government; I'm talking about the private sector here. And instead of dealing with the problems here, they're just transferring product lines and everything to other countries where they're not subject to import tariffs from the government. So they move a product line to Vietnam, or they move product line to Czech Republic, and then they're not subject to that. Now that's good and bad, because now the Chinese companies can still keep some product lines here in China, and they can move others to these lower cost labor cost things, and so they can continue to show, growing revenue and everything, and get around the tariffs. So to me, it's all political BS. It's I don't think it's the right way to go about things. That's me personally. Again, there's a lot of nuance. There's good and bad that comes with it. Uh, yeah, Jack Ma said after retirement from Alibaba, he would pick up his English teaching career. Did he say that? That would be cool, man. I always admired him because he was an English teacher. Kind of gave me a little clout. Well, maybe you can go contact American Baseball League in China. Why not? I'd love to. My friend Billy on here, he used to teach here at the college. He lives in Zhongshan, which is a big baseball town, and I hope Billy will hook me up with some information. I'm going to learn more about it. I have met one guy. He's a Taiwanese guy who owned a equipment factory in Zhongshan, and I was supposed to go hit some baseballs with him once, and then he closed up shop and moved back to Taiwan. So I'd like to get more and more into that. They might have something. I hope they do, man. I really do. I'm going to China for 6 weeks soon. What VPN do you recommend using? Just Google it. Use one of the big ones. Pay for it. VPNs are a touchy subject, so I don't really talk about it that much. But just a very 5 minutes worth of research on the internet, you'll be able to find the right one. If it's big and well used, they've got websites that show a list of the ones that are the biggest ones. Just pick one. They're all good. You pay for it. There are going to be times when it doesn't work. There are going to be times when it's unstable, and that's just part of life in China that you have to get used to if you want to go that way. Yeah, many of mine do. I have students who have them too. It's not a big deal. They're technically illegal. If it was a big deal, if it really was a thing, the government regulators can just shut it off whenever they want. I mean, it's simple. They run a quick line of code and it blocks them all. And they do that. There was a couple times a year there'll be like a week or two where you have no VPN access, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just part of life in China, guys. Yeah, it is no biggie. It really isn't. You learn to deal with it. I only time I use mine is when I'm doing something like this, or I have to upload something. But I don't use Google. I use Bing.com, and most of the internet use I use without a VPN. You find ways around it. You live without it. Well, they can shut it down if they want. It's sad that English Wikipedia has been banned recently. Yeah, it's sad. I love Wikipedia, and it's gone. And I thought it was just going to be like a hiccup, like it was last year. It was only gone for a day, but it's been gone for like 2 weeks now. Will it come back? Who knows? That's all shit above my pay grade. Yes. Every business in China has a VPN using the same port. Yeah, that's right. Businesses need VPNs to do business with outside of China. The VPN ban is mostly for the common Chinese, consumer, And to be honest with you, most of the Chinese I know don't care. They don't want a VPN. They don't want access to YouTube or Facebook. It's not a big thing to their daily lives. So they use the Chinese equivalents, and they're super happy with that. So it's not a big deal. It only becomes a big deal if we force the issue. So if the VPNs go down, just let it go down, let it run its course. In a couple of weeks, it'll be back up again. And as long as you don't make a big fuss or cause any trouble, it'll be fine. The businesses here have to have it because they have to do business with the world. So it's normal. The government would like you to use the Chinese VPN, but that idea hasn't really taken off. So there's still a lot of private VPNs out there. Okay. A couple more, and then I got to get off, guys. So maybe about 15 minutes more, I got to get off. China's export economy grew 954% between 1970 and 2010. In 30 years, it grew almost 1,000%. For years, Communist China had a closed economy that did almost no international trade. According to the World Bank data, exports accounted for less than 3% of its GDP in 1970. By 2010, that figure had risen to more than 26%, down from a high of 36% in 2006. You always hear these stories about China closing up that. When you live here, it's it's palpable. You can really feel it. They close this off, close that off. But if you look at it other ways, China continues to open up little by little. The taxes get lower. The visa requirements get lessened and streamlined and easier, and they have more of these free trade zones that certain laws don't apply, and it continues to open up and expand, especially the visa-free areas. If you want tourists to come here, you can come to a lot of places in China now, no visa. It's continues to get, now they can't do it all at once, and that's what they get criticism for, but you can't change the rules all at once. You have to do it incrementally, slowly, so that the markets can adapt and grow, and then they can take care of problems as they arise, as opposed to doing it all at once, which would just cause chaos. So I really believe that China's doing a good thing, and yeah, it's still closed off in many areas, but it is, opening up, and they'll close off some things that don't work or not in their interest. Every country does that, but I think in general, it's continuing to get better here. Can you give me the name of some good apps for translates from Chinese to English and with context? Yeah, I use Google Translate. Works here. You can use Google Translate if you want. It's awesome. And you don't need the VPN for Google Translate. Again, Google's all over China, guys. It really is. I enjoy using Baidu, which is basically the same thing. You also have Bing Translate. There's an app for a dictionary that I use called, hold on, let me pull it up for you. Pleco. It's this one right here. So these are my apps for language. I have Pleco. This is a learning app, and I have my English dictionaries and some slang dictionaries. But Pleco, I use Baidu Translate here, and I also have Google Translate as well. So yeah, use any of those, you'll be fine. And they're free, by the way. Okay. Hey, dude. Hi, Young. Good to see you. Rusty Jung. And it's doubled again in 2017 from 2010. Yeah, it continues to grow. Yeah, everyone says, "Oh, the economy's slowing down. It's showing signs of slowing." Yeah, it went from 10% to 6%. It's still growing at 6%. Economy this size, all this money growing at 6% is still giant. You know what America would do to have 6% growth? Shit, they're happy with 1.5%. Well, those Chinese VPNs also use port 5000. By the way, in my experience in China, the real problem for outside China access is bandwidth during the peak hours. International internet, yes, that is true. Peak hours, man, it slows to a crawl. Right now, it's after midnight in China, and I've got a good connection. It's not peak hours, but early afternoon, in evening, after dinner and before bedtime, yeah, it slows down quite a bit. That's very, very true. Best Chinese beer. Good question. Like it. A lot of Chinese beer. I like Qingdao. Some of my friends like Harbin. It's okay. I don't like the Pearl River draft beer. It's not what I like. But yeah, Qingdao is the big one, and I think it tastes better than Budweiser. Well, obviously. But they also have a lot of international beers here. Corona's big here. Stella. They got other ones that are very good, but Qingdao's a good, cheap, excellent beer. And then they have a lot of craft beer places too that you can go to, and little microbreweries. So lots of good beer here. Can you predict how soon would Chinese government stop blocking websites such as Google, Facebook, YouTube? No, I can't. I don't see any reason for them to do it. They've got the Chinese equivalents and they work fine. Bing.com works here because they follow the Chinese rules. Google doesn't want to follow the Chinese rules, so they're not allowed. Same thing with Facebook. And YouTube, you have Youku. Facebook, you have WeChat. Google, you have Baidu. You have the Chinese equivalents. They're playing protectionism for their own companies. Makes sense. I totally get it. Whether or not they become unblocked, I don't see it happening anytime soon. I honestly don't. I mean, Zuckerberg would love to have Facebook unblocked here, and he's made some strides and made some friends in the government. That could happen, but on a limited basis, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, Corona is huge there. Yeah, it is. And surprisingly, Corona, which I think is not even Mexican beer anymore. I think it's owned by NBev from Europe. What would happen to YouTube if that happens? What if YouTube got and I'm going to say this, guys, and I think that YouTube is just a superior product to Yoku. It just is, as far as the amount of content that's there and the ease of use. And Yoku is still pretty good, but it's obviously geared for the Chinese, consumers. There are some Chinese content here on YouTube, but YouTube is so big, I think it would gobble up Yoku. I really do. So they're not going to allow it here to basically strangle out the Chinese equivalents. There's no way they do that. Well, Facebook just banned a bunch of accounts. Yes, they did, which surprised me. I'm surprised they did that. And what about Bilibili? Yeah, Bilibili. I've heard a lot about. I sometimes when I look up a video from Yoku, it'll send me to some of these other sister sites like Bilibili for the content, and I think it's just fine. It's similar. It's the same thing as Yoku. They're sister sites. I don't see any difference between the two. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a million of them, by the way. It's not just Bilibili and Yoku. They have a ton of these streaming sites that do the exact same thing, and it's massive. The market here is massive. I mean, just like in America, you have Vimeo or something, and you have a couple of other streaming sites that kind of do the same thing YouTube does. YouTube's just the big one. Okay, a couple more, guys, and I got to get off. Average household income in China has increased by more than 400% in 10 years. China's booming economy hasn't just created billionaires, it has also helped raise living standards for working people. Between 2002 and 2012, China's average household income rose from $987 a year to over $44,273 a year, an increase of more than 400%. By 2013, that figure was up to $4,806, almost 5 times as much as 2002. So you always talk about the Chinese middle class, and it's growing, but it's bigger than the entire population of America. But what does that mean? What is the Chinese middle class? Well, you are middle class here if you earn $3,000 a month. Less than that. If you earn $2,000 a month, you're middle class. You can afford a nice apartment, have a car, and raise 2 kids and send them to college, and eat out every night for dinner, and have nice clothes and have a good life. So the cost of living here is a big deal about that. So the Chinese middle class here, even though you look at the income, the average income is lower than that of Western countries, many Western countries, and America included. If you make a teacher's salary in America, if you make that here in China, you're doing very, very well. You're middle class. So it's all relative. So it's great. It's wonderful that they can afford all this new stuff. It's wonderful for them. It's wonderful for the world. It's wonderful for us in America. With a bigger population, China has fewer poor people than the US. Yes. I'm going to talk about that discrepancy. I mean, here in China, if you're poor, you can get a little bicycle and make, a little street food and earn some money. You're not going to see that in America. The police will come and kick you out. So there's no way to build yourself up from poor in America. If you're poor, you're poor. It's much harder to make that leap into the middle class, I think. The World Bank poverty line globally is an income of $1.99 a day. By 2015, only 0.7% of the Chinese population were at or below the poverty line. Wow. That's about 9.9 million in this category out of a population of 1.35 billion. China's own national poverty line is higher, and even by that metric, only 3.1% of the population, or 30 million people, live in poverty. Meanwhile, in the US, 12.3% of the population falls below the national poverty line, which is in the 48 continental states is $12,490 a year for an individual, or $25,750 a year for a family of four, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. That's 39.7 million people, Americans, living in poverty. Again, it's all relative. Cost of living, what you make, different levels, different standards, but that is very true. That is very, very true. WhatsApp is not blocked in China. Really? What's blocked is good, Peter? I didn't know that. I thought it was still blocked. That's cool. WhatsApp was very popular when they banned it a couple of years ago. So if it's back, that's great. I left US since 2009 and never went back. How much has changed there? Nothing. The US is the same. Every time I go back, it's exactly the same. You know, the same restaurants, the same buildings, the same chains, the same franchises, the same highways. You know, everything's the same. With 1.4 billion people, 400 million of middle class, still 1 billion of people still under middle class. Well, it depends on what you consider middle class. Remember, it's all relative. If you make 2,000 US dollars a month here in China, you're middle class. You can afford to live here, you know, well. And you can't escape that. Now, that's not the case if you live in Shenzhen or Shanghai, but there's a lot of other cities that are huge, millions of people that don't cost nearly as much as Shenzhen or Shanghai. And you can live a very good life in those cities for that kind of price. Shit, network error. Sorry, man. Chinese policies called put some water, raise some fish, raise small fish. Never heard that one before. Billy's Japanese. I didn't know that either. I thought it was Chinese. Interesting. I'm learning something. This is good. I learned some things. All right, number 9. Singles can hire a date for as little as 15 cents an hour in China's growing date rental industry. I don't know anything about this. China's one-child policy has resulted in extreme gender imbalance. There are about 34 million more Chinese men than women. In a society that calls an unmarried adult a leftover man, this poses a problem. That's true. I've been called that. I'm not married. I'm almost 40, and people look at me funny, like there's something wrong with me. You know, I'm a leftover man. Whatever. One solution, hire a date. Newsweek reported that Chinese singles can hire a date for as little as 15 cents an hour, up to $288 an hour, sex not included. I won't go there. Number 10, Lunar New Year is the biggest shopping week in China. True, Lunar New Year is celebrated for a whole week each year. That's right. Remember, Christmas is only one day. In China, Spring Festival is an entire week, and oftentimes, sometimes an entire month for some people. Usually time in February. Many people travel home to buy gifts. Chinese consumers spent the equivalent of $149 billion in 2019, according to Bloomberg. It's massive. And every year it gets even bigger. China recently reopened a legal market in endangered tiger and rhino parts. I didn't know this. Oh, this is going to open up a whole can of worms. China has long been the main destination for black market endangered animal parts, prized for their medicinal value. Ground rhino horn was supposed to cure fevers and reduce blood pressure. Tigers were thought to protect you from being cursed, and the parts from one tiger could sell as much as $50,000, according to the Smithsonian Magazine. For many years, China was part of a global effort to stop the poaching of threatened species, but last year, China created a legal market for farmed tiger and rhino parts. Conservationists fear this could open the door to more poaching of those highly endangered animals. This has been in the news a lot lately. That's the last one. I think that's terrible. I was talking with a guy just came here from to China, and he's a British guy. He's a vegetarian, and he has very strong feelings about poaching and animals and all that stuff. And he's a great guy. And so he's up doing, business and lesson planning. And down below him is a shop that has ivory for sale everywhere. And you go into a lot of these, factories and private offices, and they've got ivory everywhere. It's a big deal here. I don't like it either. But if you can find some way to handle the demand in a responsible way and decrease poaching, and then I'm all for it. If this could be a way to do it, sure, but if not, you kind of stuck. All right, guys, I have been online now for over 2 hours. It is 12:30 after midnight, and I'm tired, and I'm got this much scotch left. I'm gonna drink this and call it a night. Any last minute questions for me before I head out? Let me know. Mm. Scotch, scotch, scotch. I love scotch. Here it goes down in my belly. Mm. Very good. I don't know how to translate. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't get the picture-in-picture working. I'll work on that next time through Google Hangouts so you can see what I'm reading, what I'm looking at online. I hope that would be something I can do in the future. But okay, until then, guys, 2 hours, that's a long live stream for me. I'm exhausted. I've been talking a lot, but it's great to hang out with you all. Thank you all for watching. And again, thank you for supporting my channel. It continues to grow. I will do more content. If you have any questions or video content that you want to see, let me know, and I would love to put something together. At the beginning of this live stream, I gave a list of all the videos that I'm currently working on, and I'd love your input on that. If you have any, your opinions, any facts that you may have. Again, I'd love to hear it and incorporate it into my videos. This is not just me. This is a community effort, I believe. So until then, good night, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.